When you picture a flower, you probably think of a beautiful, honest partnership. A bee or a butterfly stops by, the flower offers a sweet sip of nectar, and in return, the pollinator helps it reproduce. It seems like a perfect, harmonious relationship, right? But what if I told you that in the plant kingdom, some of the most stunning flowers are actually master deceivers, and their entire survival is built on a foundation of lies? It's time to uncover this great floral deception. We see flowers as these symbols of honesty and beauty, but are they always playing fair? The answer, it turns out, is a definite no. There's a whole other side to botany, a world of floral con artists running some of the most elaborate scams you can find in nature. This whole strategy has a name. It's called deceptive pollination. And the idea behind it is, well, it's pretty brutal but simple. A plant attracts a pollinator by promising something it desperately wants: food, a mate, maybe even a nursery for its young, but it provides absolutely nothing in return. So the unsuspecting insect does all the work of pollination and just leaves with nothing to show for it. It's the victim of a perfect, rewardless crime. Now, you're probably thinking this has got to be some rare, weird thing, right? A few oddball plants here and there. But scientists estimate that there are around 20,000 plant species that do this. That's somewhere around 4 to 6% of all flowering plants on Earth. This isn't just a handful of rogues. It's a massively successful and widespread evolutionary strategy.
So let's really get to the core of this deception. We're about to explore what looks like a partnership, but is actually just one-sided exploitation. It's a relationship built on some incredibly sophisticated lies.
What's really fascinating is that this whole idea was so counterintuitive that even the great Charles Darwin himself had a hard time with it. He basically argued that insects were just too smart to be fooled over and over again. He figured that natural selection would favor the insects that learned to avoid the fakes, and the deceptive plans would eventually die out. But, as we're about to see, he might have underestimated just how clever these plants could be. So how in the world do these plants pull it off? Well, they use two main schemes that tap into the most basic, powerful instincts of their victims: the need to eat and the drive to reproduce. First up, you've got food deception. Take the leady slipper orchid. It smells delicious and looks like it's full of nectar, but it's an empty promise. An insect is lured in, ends up pollinating the flower while it's struggling to find the food that isn't there, and then it leaves hungry. But even more incredible is sexual deception. The bee orchid is a master of this. It has evolved to look, feel, and even smell so much like a female bee that the males literally try to mate with it, and in their frustrated efforts, they end up transferring pollen. The bottom line here is that these plants are hijacking fundamental instincts. But promising a meal or a mate? That's just the beginning. Some plants have evolved a much more macabre, almost sinister strategy. They've learned to use the smell of death and decay. This is called brood site deception. Certain plants mimic the exact scent of something rotting, tricking insects like flies into laying their eggs on the flower. The fly thinks it's found a perfect food source for its babies, the insect pollinates the plant, but its offspring, they're doomed to starve. The promise was a complete lie. And the undisputed champion of this grim strategy is Rafflesia arnoldi, which, by the way, also happens to be the single largest flower in the entire world. I mean, the stats on this thing are just staggering. It can grow up to 1 meter across and weigh up to 11 kilograms. And its smell is famously, overwhelmingly, the smell of decaying meat. Flies are drawn to it, absolutely convinced they found the perfect nursery. They lay their eggs, pollinating the flower in the process. But there's no food. It's a total deception with fatal consequences for the next generation of flies. And if that wasn't strange enough, get this. The Rafflesia is a complete parasite. It has no stem, no leaves, and no roots. It lives its entire life inside its host vine, only breaking out as this giant, deceptive flower when it's time to reproduce. A true botanical phantom. To make their deception even more powerful, some of these plants have another trick. Plants like Arum maculatum can actually generate their own heat. It's a process called thermogenesis. By warming themselves up to over 35 degrees Celsius, they can better spread those foul odors, sending the scent of decay much farther, much wider. So we've had lies about food, sex, and nurseries. But some plants take it even further. They don't just deceive their pollinators, they imprison them. They turn the deception into an active crime scene. Okay, check this out. The lanternflower pulls off one of the most complex deceptions known to science. First, it releases chemicals that perfectly mimic the alarm pheromone of a honeybee being attacked. This smell attracts a very specific kind of fly, a kleptoparasite that specializes in stealing fresh kills from predators like spiders. The fly rushes in expecting an easy meal, only to get trapped inside the flower's cage-like structure. For the next 24 hours, its desperate attempts to escape get the flower pollinated. Finally, the flower wilts just enough, and the hungry, exhausted fly is set free.
A 24-hour prison sentence is pretty intense. But believe it or not, there's a genus of plants that has evolved a trap from which there is no escape. For its pollinators, this deception is fatal.
Meet Aracema. It's developed a pitfall trap that looks remarkably similar to a carnivorous pitcher plant. But here is the crucial difference. A pitcher plant kills for food, for nutrition. Aracema kills for sex. Here's how it works. Young, male plants will trap pollinators like gnats, dust them with pollen, and then let them go. But older, female plants, they have no escape hatch. When a pollen-dusted gnat enters a female flower, it's a one-way trip. This guarantees pollination, but it comes at the ultimate cost to the pollinator.
So, lies, traps, even murder, all for pollination. It really raises the biggest questions of all, doesn't it? How did such a ruthless system evolve? And why on earth do insects keep falling for it? These are questions that have puzzled scientists for centuries.
Our understanding of this has been a long journey. The idea was first floated over 200 years ago, and it was met with a lot of skepticism. But now, it's widely accepted. And what modern genetics has shown us is stunning. This strategy didn't just evolve once. It has emerged independently in many different plant families, proving just how ruthlessly effective it can be in the high-stakes game of survival. So why haven't insects evolved to see through all the lies? Well, there are a few key reasons. First, these deceptions hijack primal instincts for food and sex that are just incredibly difficult to override. Second, in this evolutionary arms race, some plants are constantly changing their scents, making it a moving target that insects can't really learn to avoid. And finally, for the insect, the potential benefit of a real reward often outweighs the cost of being fooled every now and then, which ensures the whole deceptive strategy can keep working.
And just when we think we've got it figured out, nature reveals another layer of complexity. Take the black bat flower. It has all the signs of a flower that deceives flies. But some studies suggest it may not even need insects for pollination anymore. It might be an evolutionary relic, a ghost of a strategy from its past. It's a powerful reminder that evolution isn't a clean, straight line. It's a messy process that can leave fascinating artifacts behind.
Which leaves us with a final, fascinating thought. We've seen plants that lie, mimic, imprison, and even kill, all in the name of reproduction. It completely upends our simple view of the plant world as this passive, peaceful place. It really forces us to wonder, if plants can do all this, what other incredible, complex, and deceptive strategies are playing out all around us, still waiting to be discovered?